Replication and federated repositories. What is repository replication? Well, to be very frank, it's very simple. Basically, replication is where you have two or more artifactory instances, say globally or wherever. Both it could be hybrid, it could be in your own VPC, it can be managed by us. You can have your own data center, whatever it is, but it allows you to go ahead and actually take binaries from one location and replicate it to another. This allows a level of consistency for organizations, meaning that if you have a whole bunch of developers, say in the US, Europe, and say India or somewhere in APAC, it allows them to all use that same set of materials, allows them to use that same set of binaries across the board, allowing them to share and actually produce more consistent software. This is essentially one of the major factors why companies choose the JFrog platform. It ensures that all the build artifacts are spread between locations where, like I said, you might have a team in the US that develops during the day and then gets QA'd by somewhere, say, in Eastern Europe in the evening. What this allows us to do is actually replicate those builds and everything to those locations so they can easily access them. This increases the velocity for organizations to build the software that they're building. And with repository replication, there's two different types that we have with this. We have push replication, which can be event-based, or it could be even more of a cron-based. This is the default way to do things. This means that you can do or multi-push, so you can have either the ability to push from one to another, right? So the source connects to the target for that repository, and then it says, I have all these things I want to send you. I'm going to push over all those binaries from, say, site A to site B, or the target source to the target. We have pull-based. Pull-based replication is event-based, and it can be also cron-based. But one of the nice features of pull-based replication is for things like, say, latency. Maybe you have, or low bandwidth. We see this in some companies where they might have locations where they have or a data center or an office or whatever. Maybe the bandwidth isn't as good, or maybe it's not as consistent. This allows companies to also contribute to that, where they can use more of a pull-based because the download speed might be faster than a push-based, which is more of an upstream. So you can actually go ahead, and we have lots of details on where it's applicable and where it's not, but we have that ability to do both. In addition, when we have things like push replication, one of the nice features of pull replication is the fact that you can use it to synchronize artifactory local repositories with each other. You can push from one to another location. It can be asynchronous synchronization. On top of that, too, it minimizes the amount of time that the repositories aren't actually done. It also reduces traffic in a lot of cases, especially when we start looking at like a larger replication chain. You also can go ahead. We also recommend that if you do work with these companies, we actually have seen companies. We put some stopgaps in place to help out now, where they actually might put themselves into a replication loop, which could be a little unfortunate, where they set up a weird bi-directional replication, but it's more of a troubleshooting thing. But what's nice is that it's event-based, so in other words, you can in real time. So a new artifact gets uploaded, it's immediately replicated to the other location. But it can also be cron-based. Maybe you don't want to do it during the day. You can also set it up so that 11 p.m. every night. So it's actually also got a lot of flexibility behind it. Then we have pull replication, and what's nice about pull replication, it's great for like populating things like a remote cache. So in other words, with pull replication, one of the advantages of that is also, like I said, it can reduce traffic. It also takes care of things like latency. Also, just so you know, it can't be used to replicate remote sources that are not another artifactory instance, right? So remote repositories are for third-party external sources, but you can also go ahead and replicate from a source down to a target instead. And what's great about this is that it allows you to also have many targets. So you can have not just an A, B, but you can have A, B, C, D instances globally, and it allows you to pull them down to the locations where they need to be so they can be there as fast as possible. But a lot of the times we see this as actually, the push replication stuff is great. I always recommend, make sure that they talk to their teams about availability and bandwidth, and also things like latency. Now, the thing is, it's optimized, non-dependent on architecture. Like I said, it could be either your own multiple on-premise architectures, such as your own data center. It could be in your cloud or our cloud. It could be a hybrid approach. It could be multi-cloud. This allows you to synchronize non-dependent on the architecture that is chosen by the company. And it works for local repositories and remote. And then we're going to talk about one called federated when we start talking about this in a minute. But local and remote are the two primary ways for doing this in standard push and pull replication. We can also, as I said, attribute to hybrid architectures. You might hear companies saying they're going through a digital transformation where they're moving from, say, their own data center into a cloud or multiple clouds or moving data centers. This is an excellent way for companies to go ahead and take their current infrastructure, move it to, in other words, using our replication methodology, and it makes it super simple, super dynamic, and it also allows them to migrate faster over time. And this is a great option for a lot of companies that are looking to move their processes, say, from one location to another, not dependent on what architecture is initially hosting it or what architecture they're going to. This means also, too, you'll hear a lot of these days, we hear a tremendous amount, actually, about multi-cloud architectures and hybrids, where they still have their data center for, say, localized development and caching, and then they might use, we see a lot of companies going to multiple cloud providers. It used to be we're a dedicated AWS customer, we're dedicated GCP or Azure. Now we see more companies taking advantage of some of the tool sets that are in each one of these clouds and allows them to utilize those tool sets in the cloud using Artifactory and our platform as part of this actually allows them to still take advantage of those in those different cloud platforms, but still having a consistent way to store the third-party transit dependencies, apply security, store the builds that they do, all their access management and everything. But then, like I said, they can leverage the tool sets that are available in these various cloud architectures. What's nice is this helps with things like multi-site or setups that people might have. It adds availability, resiliency. You can reduce latency. It helps with data sovereignty. Also, too, being able to load balance and distribute the actual load between multiple locations that have different Artifactory instances. Some of the challenges that some face, and this helps with it, is the idea of multiple sources of truth. This reduces that. This is huge because you can have it located, replicated out into multiple locations. It can help with that. It also can reduce the ability, availability of resources. Well, this allows them to have those resources continuously, and also it helps them overcome things like network limitations by using things like pull replication if they have low bandwidth and high latency. And with artifact replication, like I said, you could do event-based, you could do cron-based or scheduled-based, right? It can be push or pull replication. You can do multi-site topologies in either a star or a mesh-based manner. This is huge. Lots of large organizations absolutely love the things that we're doing here. And then we went one step further and we created a thing called federated repositories. Federated repositories is just a simple way to go ahead and actually enable this sort of replication. It's more of a bidirectional approach. And what's nice is that you can convert any local repository to a federated repository. And then when you select that repository, you can actually go ahead and select other locations where you might have, so other Artifactory instances. It's all built on a circle of trust. There's a whole section in our wiki on circle of trust, but it allows you to create the repositories if they're not there in those locations and immediately start replicating. And it's a bidirectional replication. It's extremely, extremely expedient. And during changes, it will only transfer things like the deltas. So what's great is with this bidirectional mirroring, when you have it for more than one location or hybrid or whatnot, federated repositories is an amazing option for companies who are looking to rapidly employ some sort of method for them to have their organization have 24/7 software development, or even in the same country, multiple locations, multiple regionals, or like I said, it could be cloud provider, it could be their own data center or whatnot, but allows people to replicate. And this is actually one of the key factors behind it. And one of the best things that in my opinion, that we offer is the ability for companies to have that consistency, non-dependent on where they are, and give their developers the freedom and the ability to stay consistent and the security layered on top of that. You have an award-winning architecture that you can help companies with. Thank you very much.